Hey everybody, it's Thea Sullivan. How are you? I, as you probably know, am a clairaudient and an intuitive, and this is an intuition update, which is a short video just where I explore some things that I've been thinking about or teachings that I've been receiving. So today, March 3rd, 2020, I want to talk about the ideas of being and doing. But before I do, I just wanted to acknowledge the fact that today is the 27th anniversary of the day when I first heard from the guides. So that's pretty remarkable. I'm so grateful to have made that connection, although at the time I did not know what it was. Um, More on that in another video. But let me talk about one of their key teachings, which is a universal spiritual teaching, but one that has come through for me in a particular way. And I think partly it's come through as prominently as it has, because it's something that I really need to work on and, have done a lot of work on, but continue to need reminders around. So what's the teaching? Well, if you're watching this in my Facebook group, The Intuitive Way, with Thea and the guides, you will have seen several, if not many, posts about this idea. But the idea is that it's our state of being or our energetic frequency, how we are being, that has the most impact, basically in our lives. That's actually our greatest service to the world, is how we be. I know that sounds wrong grammatically, and I'm a former English teacher, so yeah, it's hard for me to even say that, but that's has a particular sense to it, right? It's how we are being in any particular moment and how we are being, what we are emanating um, as we go through our lives. Well, as I may have said in a previous video, I'm an Aries. I like to charge forward. I like to do things. I have a lot of plans. And often I can't get all the things I want to get done. I'm a busy mom. I have a lot going on. I have a lot of goals, and yeah, I often fall short of my ego's expectations of what I should be getting done, what I should be achieving, what I should have achieved. I'm sure many of you may be familiar with this line of thinking. It can be a real rabbit hole that we can fall down, either, in the short term or in the long term. That idea that we somehow feel less valuable, if not just frustrated, because we're not doing as much or as well or as many things as quickly as we might think we should, or even than we want to. And we certainly value in our society the doers. We tend to, yeah, really lionize people who achieve and accomplish a lot. So what the guides are saying is actually quite countercultural, and I want to talk about it. I'll also say that a lot of my clients come to me with this kind of frustration or worry or feelings of inadequacy because maybe they feel they should be farther along in their lives in some way by some yardstick. Usually it's career. Or I work with a lot of people who are, they might not call themselves light workers, but people who either do energy work or are energetically sensitive or do healing work or feel that they have healing work to do, but they haven't quite figured out how to do that. Or they're transitioning from a more conventional line of work to a more outside the box healing modality or way of serving or working with people. But very often they just feel like, oh, I'm not there yet. I'm not where I want to be. I don't know exactly what to do. And it's a lot about the doing, right? And again, that can cause a lot of frustration, pain, feelings of inadequacy, and comparison. Of course, there's that great quote by Theodore Roosevelt: "Comparison is the thief of joy." I love that quote. Okay, but let me get back to this idea. The guide's saying that it's being, not doing, that matters the most. Um, and that it's how we do anything, with what, state of being, with what energy we do things, that matters much more than what we do. So let me just reflect on that for a minute. So what good does our being do? Well, on kind of a surface level or a more human level, I can say that in my relationships, or out in the world, if I'm having an interaction with someone, if I am in a centered space, if I'm feeling, at one with myself more or less, if I feel good about being in my own skin, aligned, connected to something greater, to my own value, I tend not to react in a negative way, even if I'm provoked. I tend not to take things as personally. I tend to stay calmer and even quieter sometimes, um, in an interaction where maybe not saying anything is the best thing. It's sort of holding space, right? Like, I'm sure you've all experienced this, that when someone else is upset or provoked, sometimes if we can just hold our energy, stay calm, stay loving, stay empathic, or just stay neutral and stay centered, it can go a long way to de-escalate the situation or kind of bring the other person into a more of a state of calm or calm them down quicker. So just on a very like practical level, um, being in a state of alignment, um, has a powerful impact interpersonally. So that's number one. The guides take it much farther though. And I think we can feel this sometimes, even if we don't understand the extent of it. They talk about how our state of being has an energetic impact on others that they may not be aware of. My dog is barking. I'm going to just keep going though. That by holding our energetic frequency in a high way, maybe that's just walking through the grocery store, holding on to that sense of love and light if we can, or calm or presence. That even if we don't talk to anybody, especially, or interact, that our very presence in that state has an energetic impact. I'm thinking of, a coin being tossed or a pebble being tossed into a lake and the ripples going outward. I think, and the guides have talked about this, that there's that kind of ripple effect energetically. So the more of us that are walking around, at least with the intention of, sending out love, sending out light, staying, present, feeling, you know, at one with ourselves as much as possible, that has, has a exponential effect on everything around us. There's that butterfly flapping its wings across the globe that has an impact, right? I think it's something like that. I don't think we can understand this easily with our conscious minds, but the guides talk about it so often, and they always say you have no idea the impact you have. You have no idea the importance of your energetic work. And by that they even mean our inner work. So the emotional work we do to kind of clear out our distortions, and to grieve when necessary, and to release old, habits of mind, etc. All the psychological, emotional, spiritual work that we do, to kind of get more in tune with that deeper sense of who we are. That all of that has a massive, massive impact, and the more of us that do it, the bigger impact it has. And none of that has to do with our careers. None of that has to do with how much money we make or how many people, are receiving our work, and there's nothing wrong with being really successful in your work, but because there's so many people, myself included sometimes, who may be tempted to feel like we're not having as great of an impact as we want. I just want to reassure everyone, with the guides at my back, basically, saying yes, yes, yes. That success as a spiritual being is about being. And all that inner work you're doing, all those intentions, all that self-reflection, it has a massive impact, and it's actually more powerful than the doing. Um, how does this relate to where we are right now in the world? It's a very intense inflection point, as I'm sure you are all aware. So many issues, whether you follow the news or not. I feel like the outer events are just part of a huge shift in consciousness that involves a lot of clashing of obviously ideologies and consciousness levels, and there's fear, and we've got the coronavirus potentially poised to get much bigger around the globe. We've got a very contentious US presidential campaign. People are pretty freaked out. And there's climate change. There's a lot of stuff. So what is our role then if being is more important than doing? And I'm going to make a different video about this going forward, about being in the world. But I'll just end by saying this. Our being can be thought of as a kind of holding space for all that's going on and holding it in the light. So just like in, let's say let's say you're with your family and there's a conflict happening, and you kind of have the wherewithal in that moment to stay calm and to hold space for what's happening, holding space for someone's feelings, not reacting, just being the witnessing presence. Doesn't mean you don't have any opinions or feelings yourself, but I think most of you know what I'm talking about. Being that non-reactive, neutral, witnessing presence in a way that shifts the situation. We can be that in the world. We can hold space for all the hoopla, the craziness, the chaos, but we can stay centered in that high vibrational space. It doesn't mean you don't have up and down days. It's not what I'm talking about. And I think you know that. Rather, we tap into that deeper energetic awareness of who we are, and that we're souls on a journey, and that we came to bring light and love. So we hold that knowledge, and we hold that knowledge of our oneness with everyone, and we hold that knowledge that all this shall pass, and that we can hold it and witness it and even send light and love to all of it without having to get swept up in the fear, or even if our minds get wrapped up in that fear, we can still stay connected to that deeper knowing that that's the being that transcends any doing. And we're all doing that together. And in that way, we are collectively lifting up the energy. And that has a huge ripple effect. So I think that is what the guides are talking about when they say that our being is more important than our doing. And again, there is actually a physical, literal component to that frequency, because we're holding more light, we're anchoring more light, we're literally raising the vibration. It's not just, hocus pocus. Even though we can't see it, it's real. It's a real thing. Just like the way that our calm centered presence, when we have, the wherewithal to do that in a, again, a family situation, has a real impact. And I'll end with a little anecdote. So about 20 plus years ago, I got trained to be a river raft guide. And that was a very cool experience, although I never, worked as a river raft guide, but I can technically paddle a group of people, guide them down a class 3 river. Don't invite me to do that though. But I could if I had to. Anyway, one of the things we learned about being a good raft guide is that your number one job is to spread calm. Your number one job, if someone flies out of the boat or someone gets whacked with a paddle or you know, a big rapid's coming and people are freaking out, your number one job is to spread calm. Kind of like an airline pilot, right? What is an airline pilot's job besides to fly the plane? It's to emanate that quality of calm. I've got this, you know. Um, we don't have to always feel calm, but that beingness, that ultimately, like on balance, calm, high vibration beingness, is a kind of holding space. It's a kind of holding a different reality, a higher reality, um, for the benefit of all, including people who really are not there yet. And I'm not saying that to create any hierarchies or judge anyone, but just to say that if that's something you can contribute, and if you feel drawn to spiritual work, that's part of your role, is to just, as that high vibration becomes more and more natural for you over time, to just hold it and just be. And that's a huge service. And thank you for doing that. Okay, that's what I wanted to share with you today. And I wish you all very well. I send you much love. I remind you to, in this day of coronavirus, you know, wash your hands and trust that all is well. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Bye.